What's up guys, and welcome to Bunches of Lunches. I'm Jennifer with the Family Fudge. Now, if this is your first time here on this channel, I love making fun lunches for my kids. And normally I share lots of packed lunch ideas for school. But of course, right now we are on summer break. Now, before we get started, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. First up, I'm making a lunch idea sent in by a subscriber named Una, who's from England, and she requested a mermaid themed lunch. Now, of course, whenever I'm making a special lunch, I do like to make a special sweet treat. So I'm gonna get started on that first. For her sweet treat, Una requested a Rice Krispie treat, and I already have a batch done, but I'm going to give these more of a mermaid makeover. So to do this, I'm going to melt some blue chocolate wafers. Now, these are supposed to be wafers, but as you can see, it's kind of all just melted together in a brick. This is not the first time I've gotten these from Walmart like this. It looks like they've already been melted before, but that's okay. I'm still gonna make this work. I'll go ahead and pop this in the microwave, and while that's going on, I'm going to take a handful of these Nilla wafers, and I'm going to crush them up so that they look like sand. So now that the chocolate is nice and melted, I'm going to take each of these little treats and I'm going to dip the edges in them. Next, each one is also getting some of the crushed cookies. This is to look like sand. And then I was able to find these super cute purple mermaid tail sprinkles. I'll go ahead and add one of these to each treat, followed by just a couple of white sprinkles. And those are to look like the bubbles in the water. And just like that, I have some super cute but super easy mermaid Rice Krispie treats. Now I'm gonna go ahead and set these aside to give them time to firm up. That way I can move on to the main course. Now for her main course, Una asked for a mermaid-shaped sandwich, and instead of adding mayo, I'm gonna go ahead and spread on some butter. And then to this, I'm also adding some cheddar, some mozzarella, and for some added crunch, I'm adding some salt and vinegar kettle chips. You guys, leave me a comment down below with the sandwich emoji if you also like adding chips to your sandwich. So now that our sandwich is done, I'm going to make the scene. First, I'll add in some corn for the bottom of the ocean. Then on the sides, I'll add some celery. This kind of looks like seagrass. Next goes the sandwich. Then I'll add some blueberries to look like bubbles, followed by some carrot-shaped fish. And then down at the bottom, I'm adding some cucumber-shaped clams and some starfish. For her fruit, Una also requested some watermelon, so I'm going to use my crinkle cutter for that. And then I'll decorate the top with a few extra cucumber stars as well. For a snack on the side, Una requested some goldfish crackers, and I'm deciding to use the baby ones because they are so tiny and cute. And then, since I'm running out of space on the tray, I'm going to rest the Rice Krispie treat right on top of the crackers. And now I'm finishing off this lunch with Una's drink of choice, which is a blueberry smoothie. Now honestly, it was a lot harder than we thought to find rainbow foods at BJ's, but for the main course we found the cutest bagels. And I've actually seen these at BJ's before. Look how colorful they are. gonna go ahead and toast this up in my pan. Now, when Kenzie was away at summer camp in Utah, one of the sandwiches that she tried for the first time was called a Reuben. Now, we technically don't have all of the correct ingredients to make a traditional Reuben, but while we were at BJ's, we were able to find the main item, which is some pastrami. Now, while our bagel is toasting up, I'm actually going to add the pastrami to the pan as well, and then I'm also going to add in the cheese just to get it nice and melty to go in our sandwich. Now, to the bagel, I'm going to go ahead and spread some onion and chive cream cheese. And then right on top of that, I'm adding the pastrami and that melted cheese. Now, usually you would add some sauerkraut to a Reuben sandwich, and that's like fermented cabbage, but we did not find that at BJ's, so we're skipping it. Instead, I just added some lettuce, and then usually you'll add some Thousand Island dressing to these types of sandwiches too. And check this out, you guys. This is one meaty sandwich. This is definitely enough to share. So now moving on to Mackenzie's fruit. This is supposed to be a rainbow theme after all, so I'm gonna put together a really simple rainbow fruit salad. So for the color red, I'm adding in some watermelon and a few strawberries. For orange, I'm adding in some cantaloupe, and for yellow, I'm adding some pineapple. Next, I'll add in a few green grapes, and then just the tiniest amount of blueberries will go in here too. Next, for her veggie, I'm going to add in some rainbow carrots, and I'm going to add a little bit of ranch on the side. Okay guys, now here's where I'm cheating a little bit. They did not have rainbow goldfish crackers at BJ's, but I did already have some at home, so I'm gonna go ahead and add them. But I am happy to say that we did find Mackenzie's sweet treat at BJ's. Were these super colorful rainbow popsicles. Now, popsicles are not something I can put in a regular school lunch, so it's perfect timing to go into today's lunch. Now, I am super skeptical whether these are going to look like they do on the box in real life, but let's find out. You guys, I am super impressed. The popsicle actually looks like the picture on the box. I don't know that I've ever added a popsicle to a lunch before, but this looks so fun and colorful. I know Mackenzie is going to love it. Alright, so now that brings us to Mackenzie's lunch. And even though her lunchbox is pink, the food inside it is gonna need to be blue. Okay, so for Mackenzie's lunch, I decided to do sort of a breakfast for lunch thing, and I thought she would love some blueberry pancakes. So first I'm just taking some batter, and then I'm just adding a tiny bit of blue to this. Now you guys, the trick to making pancakes for a lunchbox is to make sure to make them nice and small. That way they can fit in the lunchbox. I'm going to add in this little silicone liner. Instead of just adding the regular kind, I thought it would be really fun to try this blueberry syrup. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour it just a little bit into the separate container. Now you guys, if I was sending this to school, I would definitely make sure to use a container with a lid, but since the kids are eating this at home, it's really not a big deal. Now moving on to Mackenzie's fruit, I'm just gonna add in some blueberries right over here. I'm gonna add in some food picks as well. And then when it comes to the vegetable, I could not find any vegetables that were blue, but I was able to find some of these blue corn tortilla chips. So I think this will be a really yummy snack to go with this lunch. I'm just gonna fit a few here in the back. And then for Mackenzie's snack, I'm gonna add in some blue raspberry applesauce. Now I did put this applesauce in the kids' lunches last week, and I know a couple of the kids didn't like it, but I don't remember if that was Mackenzie. So hopefully she liked it and she'll like it again. Maybe if I sprinkle a couple of blue sprinkles on top, she'll like it better? We'll see. Okay guys, now that brings us to Mackenzie's special treat. I thought it'd be really fun to add in some of these hazelnut spread M&Ms. Now you guys will have to let me know in the comments down below if you've ever tried these. I have to say that personally I'm a huge Nutella fan, and these M&Ms don't really taste very Nutella-y, but they are still pretty good. But of course, since this is a blue lunch, I'm only going to be adding in the blue ones, which for this bag is only like 4. There's only 4 blue ones in the entire bag. And now last but not least for Mackenzie's drink, I found this really interesting looking blueberry lemonade. Now this is a drink that she's probably gonna end up sharing with me because I definitely want to try it. So now back to today's lunch. I'm going to start by making the sweet treat first. And for this, I'm making some cheater air fryer beignets. Now I say cheater because this way is not how Princess Tiana would make them at all. But friends, these ones are super easy to make and they're very tasty, so that's what I'm going for. I just opened a can of the honey butter flavored biscuits, and these are the flaky layered kind. And now I'm just cutting these into 4 pieces. I want these to be on the smaller side. Next, I'm going to brush each one with butter. That's going to really help these stay moist and give them more of a fried flavor without them actually being fried. Now before I add these into my air fryer, I do like to add some parchment paper just for easier cleanup. And then these go in at 375 for about 4 minutes. And then I flip them over and cook them for about 4 more minutes. Now while these are still hot, I do like to go ahead and dust them with a good amount of powdered sugar. And yes, this process is a little bit messy, but totally worth it. My air fryer is on the smaller side, so I had to do this in a couple of batches. Now honestly, these aren't as fluffy as the authentic beignets would be, but if you dig into these while they're still hot and fresh, they are fire. So now back to the rest of the lunch. For the main course, I wanted my kids to try gumbo for the first time, since I know in the movie, Tiana loves making her special gumbo recipe. Now I took some help from the store with mine, but basically this has celery, bell peppers, onions, lots of Creole seasoning, and sausage. Oh yes, and I'm putting extra rice in here as well. Personally, I've only ever tried gumbo one time, and it was at Disneyland in California. But you guys let me know in the comments down below if you've ever tried gumbo before. Now to go along with the gumbo, I also want to make a fun tea sandwich. And of course, I have to make this frog shaped. For the filling, I'm adding one of my kids' favorite, some herb cream cheese, and then some thinly sliced cucumber. And then I have to make a tiny crown to go with this. For the fruit and veggies, I'm going with everything green. I'm gonna add some kiwi, lots of grapes, and these grapes are going to get lots of these cute little frog picks. And then I'm also adding some celery. Now usually I like to make something called ants on a log. That's where you use peanut butter and raisins, but instead I'm making frogs on a log. For this I use more of that herb cream cheese, and instead of raisins I'm using some steamed edamame. Now I want to go ahead and fill this in a little bit more, so I'm going to add just a few pieces of cucumber that I've cut into flowers. Now at this point I can go ahead and add back in our sweet treat, our mini cheater beignets. I can add just a few right over here. And then for the drink, I'm just mixing up a nice green limeade. This is tart and sweet and really refreshing. For Lily's main course, she requested some kind of pizza. And since Lily loves garlic, I mean, she really loves it. She would eat just a whole raw clove of garlic if she could. For the crust of the pizza, she picked up these garlic and herb naan-bread pieces. Using naan bread like this is such a quick and easy way to throw together a pizza. I'll just add in some sauce, some mozzarella cheese, a little bit more cheese, some turkey pepperoni, and then some herbs. I'm just gonna pop this into my air fryer for about 8 minutes or until the cheese is nice and melted. Next, for Lily's fruit, she decided to go with some peaches. Next, she decided to pick up some pickles for her veggie. I'm not sure if that counts or not, but she does love pickles. These ones are huge though, so I did have to cut them up. Next, I'm adding several snacks that begin with the letter P. First, I'm adding some pickle popcorn. Next, I'm adding some peanut butter pretzels. Now for Lily's sweet treat, we looked around at Aldi for quite a long time, but in the end, Lily decided to go with some pie. Cherry pie to be exact. Now to make these quick and easy, we also picked up some ready-made pie crust. And then you guys, these are so easy to make. You just take your pie crust, cut them into little circles, and then press them into a muffin pan. Then all you have to do is add in your pie filling of choice. You could use apple or blueberry, but of course Lily loves cherries, so that's what we went with. And then these just take about 15 minutes in the oven at 425. Okay guys, so for Griffin's main course, he decided to go with the Mickey and Friends themed mac and cheese, but he also asked me if I could put hot dogs in it. You guys have to let me know in the comments down below if you've ever tried hot dogs cut up in mac and cheese before. I think hot dogs are a super fun addition to any Mickey Mouse themed lunch because of the hot dog song. And you guys check out the fun pasta shapes that this box comes with. Now for the hot dogs themselves, I'm going to use these ones that are all beef, and I'm going to cut them up pretty small. If I had even younger kids, I would probably cut them even smaller just to be safe. But for a couple of the hot dogs, I'm going to cut those into Mickey Mouse shapes, and you're gonna see I'm trying to do as many Mickey Mouse shapes for this lunch as I can. So once the pasta is done, I'll go ahead and add in the cheese sauce and the hot dogs. And to make this look extra fun on the tray, instead of just having one bowl of mac and cheese, I'm going to split it up into a Mickey Mouse shape. Next, for Griffin's fruit, he picked out an apple, and I already went ahead and cut it with my crinkle cutter and my Mickey glove cookie cutter too. And then for his veggie, he decided on cucumbers. And while the mac and cheese was cooking, I cut those up too. Now from Target, Griffin was also able to pick up some Mickey Mouse themed goldfish crackers. So I'm gonna add just a few of those into this Mickey Mouse snack container. Now that brings me to the sweet treat. While we were at Target, Griffin picked out this monster cookie dough, and neither one of us realized it at the time, but this is not just chocolate chip cookie dough. It actually has oats in there, there's peanut butter, and there's also peanut butter candies. Keeping with the Mickey theme, I decided to go ahead and cut up the dough balls because these were going to be really big cookies otherwise. I did decide to go ahead and cut the cookie dough even smaller and then roll them into balls. And I also dipped each of the balls in some extra sprinkles. And as you can see, I tried my best to make these Mickey Mouse shaped. And then last but not least, for Griffin's drink, he did pick up a new Mickey Mouse Good to Grow at Target. I'm sad to say that my last kiddo is almost too old for these types of drinks, but that's okay. And there you have it. That's everything that Griffin picked for his special end of summer lunch. Next up, in honor of Father's Day, I'm making a Goofy movie inspired lunch. And that's because Goofy is my favorite Disney dad. And you guys have to let me know in the comments down below if you've ever seen a Goofy movie. It was one of my favorite Disney movies growing up, and I still love it to this day. Now, this movie does have a lot of food in it, but I knew for the main course of this lunch, I wanted to try to make that extra cheesy pizza that Max and PJ enjoy at the hotel. So to make this pizza, I'm gonna start with some store-bought pizza dough. I'll go ahead and spread that out. And then to give this pizza extra flavor, I'm going to put together a special sauce. And it starts with some melted butter. To this butter, I'm also going to add lots of Italian seasoning, some garlic powder, and some onion powder. Once that's all mixed up, I'm going to generously paint it all over the dough. Next, I'm using some store-bought pizza sauce. I'm going to spread that all over and then move on to the cheese. And you guys, I'm using a lot of cheese. Way more cheese than I would normally use. First, I'm going to take some sliced mozzarella cheese and I'm going to add a layer of this, followed by even more mozzarella, but this time I'm using a block of whole milk mozzarella and I'm going to go ahead and shred this up, and I think I'm probably going to use about an entire pound of cheese. Now the pizza in the movie looked mostly white with a little bit of yellow, so I'm also going to be adding a little bit of shredded cheddar cheese. And for the pepperonis themselves, I'm going to use a combination of both large pepperoni and small pepperoni. Now I'm gonna pop this in my oven at 375 for about 20 minutes, but I don't want the cheese to get too brown because I want it to be as close to the movie as possible. And here it is, you guys. This smells so good. I really think that garlic butter is gonna add so much delicious flavor. And I'm really hoping for a cheese pull here. You guys, I cannot believe with so much cheese on this pizza, I did not get much of a cheese pull until I actually pulled it apart like this. But that's okay. I know my kids are going to love this. So since these are summer lunches, I am using trays instead of lunch boxes. I'll go ahead and add on a pizza slice and then move on to the fruit and veggie. First, I'm adding some Goofy grapes. And then to go along with this, I'm adding some carrot chips with plenty of ranch for dipping. Now for some snacks on the side, I have a couple of different ideas. It wouldn't be a Goofy movie reference without some Cheese Whiz. Well, in this case, some generic Cheese Whiz. I'm gonna go ahead and add this to some crackers. And yes, I'm gonna try to make this cheese as tall as I can, like the Leaning Tower of Cheesa. Now I'm gonna add a couple of these crackers right in this section. And yes, I'm making those into a tower as well. In this movie, Goofy really wants to go fishing with his son Max, and they have the perfect cast. So for an extra snack, I'm also adding some cheddar fish crackers. I'm just gonna fill in all of the extra spaces with these crackers. And then you guys, for the sweet treat, I have something different in mind. You know the part in the movie where they're at the restaurant and Max orders some eggs and bacon? Well, Goofy orders a short stack of pancakes. So I'm gonna take these mini pancakes and they're gonna be the sweet treat for this lunch. I'll add a little butter on top and of course some maple syrup. And then last but not least, for the drink, in honor of Powerline, I'm gonna be adding some orange Powerade. Now I really wish they had lime Powerade, that would have been good too, but I had to settle with orange. And there you have it, friends, a lunch in honor of my favorite Disney dad, Goofy. For Jackson's main course, he asked me if I could make him a savory waffle. Now, this is something that I made on a whim months and months ago, and I forgot how much Jackson liked it. I'm surprised he requested it again. Now, I started by making just a regular pancake mix. You can use any brand you want. You can even use the just add water kind, although I do like to get the Kodiak cake ones because they have a little bit more protein in them. And now to make this pancake batter savory, I add a little bit of garlic powder, a little bit of onion powder, some parsley flakes, and then a handful of shredded cheddar cheese. So if you've ever had a Cheddar Bay biscuit at Red Lobster before, this is kind of like that, but no bay seasoning. Then I just cook these up as I normally would. You can make them into pancakes or waffles, either one will do. To go along with this, I'm also going to cook up some hash browns, some sausage, and then I have just enough space to cook up an egg. I'll go ahead and season that. I do want to break the yolk too. And then on top of the egg, I'm going to add a slice of cheese, and you're going to see why in just a minute. With these savory waffles, I'm going to make them into a breakfast sandwich by adding that egg and the cheese right in the center. Next to that, I can add the hash browns. And then on the other side, I'll add the sausage. Next, for Jackson's fruit, he requested a banana, so I went ahead and sliced this up. And then he had a really hard time picking out a vegetable for a breakfast theme, but he did decide to go with some carrots, so I just went ahead and cut these into stars. And now to finish off Jackson's lunch, for a bit of a sweet treat, he picked out a Yakult. And if you've never tried these before, it's basically like a probiotic yogurt drink. It's kind of sweet, it's kind of tangy. We had these a lot when we were in Japan and the whole family loves these. Okay guys, so for Emmy's lunch today, she requested an all red themed lunch, which is perfect. Of course, she requested some red mac and cheese. Now, as far as I know, there are no mac and cheese brands that already come red, so I'm just gonna go ahead and dye this mac and cheese red. I always like to use the white mac and cheese for this because I think the color turns out a lot better. And whenever I'm dyeing pasta, I always like to add the food coloring to the noodles as they cook instead of afterwards. I find that the mac and cheese comes out a lot less gloppy if you do it like this. Okay guys, so in goes the mac and cheese. It did come out super red. And speaking of red foods, I'm gonna be adding 2 different kinds of red fruits into Emmy's lunch. She requested watermelon, so I just went ahead and cut these into little flower shapes. and I'll add them right over here. And then to go along with this, she's also requested some red raspberries, so I'll add those over here. And then for her veggies, she requested some red bell peppers. So I went ahead and just cut this mini bell pepper into strips. And to go along with them, I'm also going to be adding in a little container of ranch, perfect for dipping. Now moving on to Emmy's snack, she requested a red bag of Doritos, and I'm going to go ahead and just place this bag on the side because I know that the chips themselves are technically orange, but that's okay. The packaging is red, so we're going to go with it. For Emmy's sweet treat, she requested a red macaron, and this is actually a raspberry flavored one with a vanilla center, so I'll go ahead and add this right on the side. And then lastly, for her drink, Emmy requested a red Hawaiian punch. I'm just going to add this right over here. Now you guys, I just love how this lunch turned out. Everything is super red. Okay guys, now Alex's lunch is going to be a big challenge because she asked for all foods that are white. For her main course, she requested a chicken Alfredo. So I'm actually going to start by cooking some of these fettuccine noodles. These are the whitest colored pasta I could find. And this is fresh pasta, so it's only going to take a few minutes to cook. To this fettuccine, I'm also going to add a few pieces of chicken, which is nice and white. Then I'm going to cover it all with this delicious white Alfredo sauce. Now this is just store-bought Alfredo sauce. I just warmed it up and it's good to go. Next, for Alex's fruit, she requested a banana. And I know what you're thinking, but bananas are yellow. Well, this one's kind of green and yellow, but you guys, if you peel the banana inside, it's kind of white, so it definitely counts. For her snack, she requested popcorn, and to keep this nice and white, I didn't add any butter at all. And then for her sweet treat, she requested some rice pudding, which is definitely one of my favorites. And of course, it's nice and white, so it fits with today's lunch. And finally, for Alex's drink, she requested a coconut water with the pulp. So inside this can, there'll be little white pieces of coconut floating all around the drink. It sounds weird, but it's actually really good. And there you have it, guys. That is everything in Alex's lunch. Okay guys, so we already did a red lunch, a white lunch, and now it's time for the blue lunch. For Elizabeth's main course, she requested some blue mashed potatoes. So I'm just starting off with some nice creamy mashed potatoes. And to this, I'm going to add a little bit of this natural food color dye, which is hopefully going to turn it nice and blue. Yes, I think this looks pretty good. Now to go along with the mashed potatoes, Elizabeth also requested some blue gravy. So I'm going to start with some regular country gravy. That's a nice white style gravy. And to this, I also added a little bit of the natural blue food coloring. So now that Elizabeth's main course is done, I'm going to move on to her fruit, which is of course some blueberries. So I'm just going to add plenty of those in here. And then for her veggie, I'm just going to add a handful of these blue veggie straws. Kind of a veggie, not really, but it's okay. For her snack, Elizabeth requested some blueberry Noosa yogurt. So I'm just going to mix this all up and add it into the center. And then for her sweet treat, she requested a blue sugar cookie. Now these are the really nice soft sugar cookies. And of course, I love the sprinkles on top. I'll go ahead and add this right on the side. And then last but not least, for Elizabeth's drink, she requested a blue Kool-Aid. So I decided to go with this really interesting sour version. Now there are so many different red, white, and blue things that I could make, but I'm going to stick to something I know Griffin will like. For this, I'm going to start with just one piece of regular bread. On here, I'm going to add plenty of strawberry jam. And then next comes the fun part. I'm going to add some blueberries up in the corner, followed by some fresh raspberries and some banana slices. And the idea is that this kind of looks like an American flag. Now I know there's supposed to be more stars and more stripes, but I could only fit so much. Most importantly though, I know Griffin is going to love this bread. Now to go along with this, I'm also going to add in some pepperoni and some string cheese. And to make these extra cute, I've added them to some little flag picks. These are meant for cupcakes, but I think they work really well in here as well. Now, Reuben isn't a huge fan of veggies in general, so I'm just going to go ahead and add some veggie straws instead. And these are the special red, white, and blue ones for the 4th of July. There's stars and stripes in here, so I'm going to fit as many as I can into this lunchbox. And then for Griffin's sweet treat, something I know he's going to love, I'm just going to add a handful of these red, white, and blue M&Ms. And then for his drink, I'm just going to add a juice bottle with this red, white, and blue Mickey topper. And there you have it, guys. That's all there is to it. Now there are so many different red, white, and blue things that I could make, but I'm going to stick to something I know Griffin will like. For this, I'm going to start with just one piece of regular bread. On here, I'm going to add plenty of strawberry jam. And then next comes the fun part. I'm going to add some blueberries up in the corner, followed by some fresh raspberries and some banana slices. And the idea is that this kind of looks like an American flag. Now I know there's supposed to be more stars and more stripes, but I could only fit so much. Most importantly though, I know Griffin's going to love this bread. Now to go along with this, I'm also going to add in some pepperoni and some string cheese. And to make these extra cute, I've added them to some little flag picks. These are meant for cupcakes, but I think they work really well in here as well. Now, Griffin isn't a huge fan of veggies in general, so I'm just going to go ahead and add some veggie straws instead. And these are the special red, white, and blue ones for the 4th of July. There's stars and stripes in here, so I'm going to fit as many as I can into this lunchbox. And then for Griffin's sweet treat, something I know he's going to love, I'm just going to add a handful of these red, white, and blue M&Ms. And then for his drink, I'm just going to add a juice bottle with this red, white, and blue Mickey topper. And there you have it, guys. That's all there is to it. Now, this next lunch idea was sent in by one of our awesome subscribers, Giselle from Chicago, Illinois, and she requested a butterfly-themed lunch. And for the main course, I'm putting together a BLT. I've already got some bacon cooking, so I'm going to go ahead and slice up these tomatoes. I'm going to try to get them nice and thin, and I want to go ahead and season these as well. Next, I'm going to cut the bread into a butterfly shape. Add some mayo. This is a little bit too much mayo, but that's okay. Now, I actually Googled the correct order of ingredients when you make a BLT, and it said to do lettuce first, then your bacon, followed by the tomato. Next, I'm going to cut out the top piece of bread, and then using my Food Writer pens, I'm going to color in my sandwich stamp. And you guys, I'm using purple for this because Giselle actually requested lots of purple items for this lunch. And there you have it, guys, a butterfly BLT. Now moving on to the fruit, Giselle requested watermelon, and I'm going to go ahead and make these into melon balls. Now to dress these up just a bit, I'm going to add in just a couple of food picks. These little daisy ones are from Japan and they are so cute. Now to go along with the watermelon, Giselle also requested corn on the cob. Now for this, I'm just going to pop this in some boiling water for a few minutes to soften it up. Then I'll season with some butter and some salt. For a snack on the side, I'm adding some cheese and crackers, but not just regular cheese and crackers. I'm going with the butterfly shaped crackers, and I'll be using this butterfly shaped cookie cutter to cut the cheese. For Giselle's sweet treat, I'm going to start by frosting some blueberry muffins, with purple of course, and then to decorate the top, I'm just going to add one of these edible butterfly decorations. And finally, to finish off this lunch, I'm going to be adding some grape Kool-Aid. This turned out to be such a cute lunch, but it was actually really easy to put together. Okay friends, next up I have another awesome subscriber requested lunch. This one was sent in by Caitlin from the UK. For Caitlin's lunch, I'm going to start with her sweet treat first because it's gonna take a little time to set up. She requested a Rice Krispie treat, but she also requested lots of blue things in this lunch, so I'm gonna make a blueberry Rice Krispie treat. If you're like me and love Rice Krispie treats, but you don't always wanna make a full batch, this recipe is for you. I started by melting about a tablespoon of butter in my microwave safe mug. This took about 20 seconds. Then to that, I'm adding about 3/4 of a cup of mini marshmallows, and this is going back in the microwave for another 20 seconds or so, just to make sure the marshmallows are melted. And now comes the cereal. Now normally I would use just 3/4 of a cup of Rice Krispie cereal, but this time I'm using half Rice Krispie cereal and half blueberry pie cereal that I found at Walmart. This cereal smells so good. It really does smell like blueberries, but the shape reminds me of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. So once the cereal is completely coated with the melted marshmallow and the butter, I'm gonna dump it out onto a greased plate, and using a bit of parchment paper, I'm going to press it down into kind of a square. Now I say this is a single serve Rice Krispie treat, but it really does make quite a large one. So if you feel like sharing, you definitely could. I'm gonna add some blue sprinkles. Now I'm gonna set this aside to set up while I move on to the rest of the lunch. For Caitlin's main course, she requested a waffle PB&J, and sticking with our blue theme, I went ahead and got these deluxe, extra fluffy blueberry waffles. I'm gonna go ahead and stick these in the toaster, and when they're done, on one of them, I'm going to add plenty of extra chunky peanut butter. And then on the other one, I'm going to add some of this jam from the UK. This one has blueberries and black currants. I'll put the two sides together, and then I'm gonna go ahead and cut it up. Now, I would love to know in the comments down below, what is your favorite way to have a PB&J? So now moving on to the fruit. First, I'm gonna be adding lots of pineapple, and then to this, you guessed it, more blueberries. And then for Caitlin's veggie, I'm doubling up here. I'm gonna start by crinkle cutting some cucumbers. And then to go along with that, I already cut up some carrots. And of course, I don't wanna forget the ranch. Next, for Caitlin's snack, she requested any kind of chips or crackers, and I was looking for something that I haven't tried before. So while I was at Target, I found this dill pickle popcorn. That sounds really interesting, so I'm gonna stick some right over here. And now friends, right next to that, I have just enough space for these extra gooey blueberry Rice Krispie treats. And keeping with our blueberry theme, for Caitlin's drink, she requested a blueberry lemonade, and I actually found a really interesting one. Now I know right now it doesn't look like blueberry lemonade, but that's because the drink mix is actually in the lid. This kind of reminds me of a Japanese ramen drink, but of course this one is not carbonated, but it does have extra probiotics in it. I just pressed on the little tab on top and it released the powder, and now I can shake it up. Okay friends, the next subscriber lunch I'm putting together was sent in by Gabby from Alaska. And for her lunch, she requested a camping theme. Now this is perfect timing for us because my daughter Mackenzie just came back from summer camp, which is also good because my kids are all going back to school very soon. I would love to know how many of you guys are going back to school soon as well, or if you've already started, let me know down below. Now for Gabby's main course, she asked for an egg salad sandwich. So to make the egg salad, I'm keeping things pretty classic here. I'm just adding some mayo, some onion powder, some dill relish, and of course some salt and pepper. And keeping with our camping theme, I'm going to cut the bread, or I'm going to try to cut the bread into a tent shape. And I'm gonna fill this with as much egg salad as I can. For the top of the tent, I'm gonna add in some pretzels to look like the tent poles. And for the door, I'm gonna add an extra slice of cheese. So to our tray, I'm going to start by adding some pretzel sticks. I'm gonna add these all along the bottom, and that's to kind of look like the twigs that you might find on the ground of a campsite. Next, I'll add in the tent sandwich. And then I'm going to cut some cucumbers into tree shapes. I'm going to place these all around the sandwich to create a forest. Gabby also requested some ants on a log, which is such a perfect snack for a camping themed lunch. Next, for the fruit, I'm going to add a couple of cutie oranges. And you guys, the idea is to make this look like the sun. Now for a crunchy snack, I'm also going to add some of these white cheddar puffs, but I'm just adding a few of these because I want them to look like the clouds. For her sweet treat, Gabby requested s'mores, which again is such a perfect treat for camping. Whenever it comes to camping, I automatically think of s'mores, but today I'm doing things a little bit differently. First, instead of regular marshmallows, I'm gonna try using these color-changing marshmallows. They're supposed to change color after they've been toasted, so we'll see if those work. And then, obviously, I don't have a campfire in my kitchen, so I'm gonna try making these in my air fryer instead. Oh yes, and to make sure that the marshmallows don't just blow off our graham crackers, I'm gonna cut each one in half and then place them cut side down. That way they're kind of sticking to the graham crackers. Now these go in the air fryer at 350 for just about 5 minutes. And instead of using regular chocolate, I'm gonna use some of this s'mores spread instead. Now I got this one at Walmart, but I've also seen a similar one at Target. And it's kind of like Nutella or Biscoff, but instead of just chocolate, it's actually chocolate and marshmallow flavored. And there's actually crushed up graham cracker pieces in this spread too. And as you can see, the marshmallows did change color a little bit, but not that much. And check it out, you guys, these are super messy but delicious. And yes, you can totally make s'mores in the air fryer, it works. And now last but not least, for her drink, Gabby requested a vitamin water. Now friends, way back in October, I made a Halloween-inspired lunch with some super festive pasta salad, and I wanted to see if I could make a 4th of July version. So today I'm using some extra large pasta. I get this at Target. And I'm also using plenty of this natural food coloring. And I actually like to add the food coloring to the water that the pasta is boiling in as it cooks. Once the pasta is done, I like to drain it and rinse it as well. Now while the pasta was boiling, I also went ahead and cut the cheese into little stars. And I cut some onions, so now I'm ready to go ahead and put everything together. Now normally when I make a pasta salad, I'll also add things like olives, carrots, cucumbers, lots of different things. But today, since I'm keeping this red, white, and blue themed, at this point I'm only going to be adding some of our favorite Olive Garden Italian dressing. Now I'm gonna give this a nice big stir and then add it to the lunchbox. And I did reserve some extra cheese and pepperoni to decorate the top. Now moving on to the fruit. First, I'm gonna be slicing up some strawberries. And to go along with this, I'm also adding some blueberries. Now these blueberries are kind of on the dark side, so I'm going to brighten them up by adding a few slices of cucumber right to the top. Now for a salty snack on the side, I got this big old bag of sharp white cheddar popcorn. Now normally if I was sending this lunch to school, I probably wouldn't put it so close to the strawberries, but since we're eating this right away, it's gonna be fine. Now I almost forgot, I do want to go ahead and add in some cherry tomatoes too. And then for a bit of a sweet treat, I also got some of these white chocolate covered pretzels. And then for the drink, I'm just going to be adding some fruit punch. Next up, we're having breakfast for lunch. And this one is inspired by IHOP. Now, I'm not sure if they still have this on the menu, but they used to have something called the red, white, and blue pancakes, and I'm going to make my version. For the pancakes themselves, I'm going to use the Kodiak cake high protein version. This one also has blueberries. But before I make these pancakes, I have to ask you guys if you've heard of scrambled pancakes. Now, I've been seeing this all over Instagram and TikTok, and I wanted to give it a try. Apparently, you're just supposed to almost cook a pancake all the way on one side and then kind of just mix it up and let it cook the rest of the way. Now, I'm not sure if I didn't have my pan hot enough or what, but it kind of just stuck to my spatula. This was a very different way of making pancakes. You guys let me know if you've ever tried this. Now, I did go ahead and give these to Lily and she actually loved them, so I'll probably end up making these again. But for today, I'm just going to make a short stack of the blueberry protein pancakes. Now, the trick to making these like IHOP is that you don't use fresh fruit and you don't use syrup. Instead, it's more like a pie filling. And of course, you can use whatever flavors you like for this, but I'm gonna go with cherry first. This one's nice and red. And then on the other side, I'm gonna add the blueberry. And as you can see, I've left just enough space down the center for some whipped cream. I do have some 4th of July sprinkles, and I'll add just a few on the whipped cream. These look so good, you guys. I think everyone in the family is going to love these. Now for the fruit and veggie, I'm just gonna go ahead and use some watermelon and some cucumber because that's what I have on hand today. And then since this is breakfast for lunch, I'm gonna be adding some hard-boiled eggs. And I did go ahead and stick these in my little egg molds to make them into star shapes. And sometimes this is tricky. As you can see, this first one, the egg itself wasn't quite big enough. I do recommend using extra large eggs for these. They just turn out a little bit better. And then for the drink, I'm just gonna throw in a little bottle of milk. And there you have it, guys. This is such a quick and easy idea for 4th of July breakfast or for lunch. Okay friends, now that brings me to a lunch idea sent in by Aria from Scotland. She requested a lunch with no sandwiches and only yellow food. Now you guys know I love making one color lunches, and yellow is one of my favorite ones because there's actually a lot of foods that are naturally yellow. For Aria's main course, since she doesn't want a sandwich, she instead requested some egg muffins. Now I'll go ahead and link a similar recipe down below if you want to make these yourself. But one of the things that makes these egg muffins different is that they start with a hash brown crust. So I just took some of these hash browns that are not frozen and I filled each cup about halfway. And then to these potatoes, I'm going to season them up with plenty of salt, pepper, onion powder, and garlic. I want these to have lots of good flavor. And then I'm pressing down the crusts like this before I stick them in the oven. These cook at 350 for about 20 minutes. And while those are in the oven, I'm going to prepare the egg mixture. And yes, I am making a big batch of these today because these make perfect leftovers, or you can make them for meal prep too. So for the filling, I'm mixing together eggs, milk, salt, pepper, garlic, onion, all the seasonings, and then I'm going to whisk them all together. Once the hash brown layer is ready, I can go ahead and add in the rest of the ingredients, starting with some diced ham. Now you could also use bacon or sausage in here, both would be delicious. But to this, I do want to make sure to add plenty of sharp cheddar cheese. And then lastly, I'm pouring in the egg mixture. Now these go back in the oven for about 20 more minutes, which gives me just enough time to make the sweet treat. For this lunch, I'm going to put together some really fun mini Pop-Tarts. Now generally, I'm not a huge fan of store-bought Pop-Tarts, but you guys, these homemade ones are so good. And these are totally customizable. All you have to do is switch out the fillings. I just rolled out my dough, cut the dough into little rectangles, and then because this lunch is supposed to be yellow themed, I'm going to be using a pineapple coconut jam. Once the tops are on, all you have to do is crimp the edges with a fork and they're good to go. These take about 10 to 12 minutes in the oven. Now to make the Pop-Tart glaze, all you have to do is add 1 cup of powdered sugar. Then to this you add 1 tablespoon of milk and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Now once these super cute little Pop-Tarts have had a chance to cool down, I'm just going to spread on the glaze. And of course, I have to add plenty of yellow sprinkles. You guys, DIY Pop-Tarts are so easy to make. This would be a perfect recipe for all of the family to help make together. So now it's time to put everything together. I'm going to add 2 of the hash brown egg bites, and then for her fruit, Aria requested some banana slices. So I'll go ahead and add those. And then she also requested some corn, so I'll add that. And then over on the side, I'm going to add some of these ranch poppables, but only the yellow ones. And then over here, I have just enough space for one of these super cute mini Pop-Tarts. And now I'm finishing off this lunch with some pineapple banana orange juice. So I was shopping at Walmart the other day and I came across these Star Spangled crackers and I thought to myself, I need to make some 4th of July themed Lunchables. So normally with a classic Lunchable, you'll either have turkey or ham. I think there might be a bologna version, but I'm not sure. But today I decided to pick up these mozzarella cheese and salami roll-ups. Now I think these are meant to go on a charcuterie board, but a charcuterie board is kind of like an adult Lunchable, right? So in goes the meat and cheese, followed by the crackers, of course. And I don't know if you can see the detail on here, it kind of does look like a flag. So now moving on to the fruit and veggie, I'm keeping these red. First, I'm adding some watermelon balls. Then I'm going to slice up some mini red bell peppers. These ones are nice and sweet. Next, I'm going to take some cucumber and I'm going to cut them into star shapes. I'll get those in here, and then on the side, I do want to add plenty of ranch. The other day I found a pickle flavored ranch and my kids were not fans. They pretty much only like the regular stuff. Next, for a snack on the side, I picked up these special edition 4th of July veggie straws. This one comes with the straw and the star shapes. And then I know when it comes to Lunchables, they come with all different types of treats, but since I think the classic ones come with Oreos, I'm gonna add some Oreos too, but these ones are special. These are the limited edition Star Wars ones, and what you don't know is that you're either gonna get all blue filling or all red filling, depending on if you're on the light side or the dark side. And check it out, you guys, the cookies themselves have the characters on them, and of course these are all the different villains. I really hope we can find the blue version because I really want to see which characters are on those. But I almost feel like it's a golden ticket. How many packages of Oreos will I have to buy before I can find the blue ones? And now for the drink, I'm going to combine some blue raspberry with cranberry, and that's going to give us a really pretty red, white, and blue until it all mixes together and becomes purple. Okay friends, this next lunch is going to be super easy. There's no cooking required. And for the main course, I'm going to make a classic ham and cheese sandwich. Next, for the fruit, I'm going to add some blueberries, but on top of that, I'm also going to add some vanilla Greek yogurt, and then I'm decorating the top with a few 4th of July sprinkles. And a cupcake topper too. Then for the veggie, I'm gonna go with celery. I know it's not technically red, white, or blue, but that's okay. These are gonna get some ranch on the side. And speaking of on the side, I'm also going to be adding a Baby Bell cheese. I'm just punching out the wax with my little star-shaped cutter. And then I'm also using some Stars and Stripes veggie straws. And then for the treat, I'm going old school. I remember these cupcakes when I was little, but of course this is the 4th of July version. Okay guys, next up, I'm going to be making 2 different 4th of July themed lunches. Now these lunches are very different. I couldn't decide which one to make, so I'm making them both. First up is a lunch requested by Lily from Kentucky, and for this one, I'm starting with a sweet treat first. Now, Lily requested some 4th of July cookies or cupcakes, and I found these ones at Walmart. Now these are just like the place and bake sugar cookies that you might find for Christmas or Halloween or Easter. I love these. These are so cute and of course really easy to make, just about 10 to 12 minutes in the oven. Now while those are in the oven, I'm going to move on to the main course. And for this, Lily requested a red, white, and blue grilled cheese. Now, of course, I've made lots of rainbow grilled cheeses before, but never one for the 4th of July. It's pretty much the same idea though. I'm just gonna take some finely shredded mozzarella cheese, and then in one of these bowls, I'm going to add a few drops of blue, and then the other one, I'm adding some red. And you guys, I really think that a liquid works way better than a powdered food coloring, especially in this. Next, I'm gonna go ahead and butter my bread, but as you can see, I'm almost out of butter. Hopefully this will be enough. And now for this next part, I like to wear a glove. I'm going to add in as much cheese in here as I can fit, and I'm really going to pat it down so it doesn't fall out. Now I just have to toast this up on each side, and once it's done, I can see if we'll get a good cheese pull. Next, for her fruit, Lily requested some strawberries. I went ahead and cut these into heart shapes, and to go along with those, I'm also adding some watermelon balls. For her veggie, she requested a red bell pepper. I went ahead and cut these into strips, and to go along with those, I'm also cutting out a few cucumber stars. For a salty snack, I'm adding in these Stars and Stripes veggie straws. These come out every year around this time, and I pretty much only find these at Target. Now, I don't want to forget the ranch for the veggies, so I'll go ahead and put that on the side. And then for the sweet treat, our sugar cookies are ready to go. For her drink, Lily requested a special 4th of July shake, but I'm gonna turn this into more of a float. Now I found this festive sorbet at Walmart. I'm just gonna add a little scoop of this, and then of course you could add Sprite or 7-Up to make this into a float, but I'm just going to add some lime flavored LaCroix. Next up, I'm making a subscriber lunch idea from Caspian, who's from Indiana, and he requested a Lego theme breakfast for lunch. Now you guys, I found the perfect waffle maker for any Lego lover. Now for the waffles themselves, I'm just going to prepare some of this blueberry protein waffle mix. Super easy, my kids love this kind. And I'll just make these waffles as normal. Now I have tried a lot of waffle makers in my time, and I have to say that this one is actually really nice. Next, for the fruit, Caspian requested strawberries, but honestly, the strawberries at my grocery store were not looking very fresh. So instead, I'm going to just use some watermelon, and I'm going to cut these to look like Legos too. Next, for the veggie, Caspian requested carrots, and instead of ranch, he would like some hummus on the side for dipping. Caspian also requested some Cheez-It crackers, And then for the sweet treat, I was able to find the perfect snack, and I don't even have to make it. These are Lego themed fruit snacks, and they really do look like little Legos. And then last but not least for the drink, I'm going to add in a little probiotic ginger ale soda. And now you guys, for 4th of July lunch number 2, this idea comes from Macy from Georgia. For her main course, she requested something called a banana berry monster PB&J. And you guys, she told me exactly how to make it. First, instead of using regular bread for the sandwich, you're supposed to use banana bread. But as you can see, my banana bread came out a little bit crumbly, so I'm not sure these will make a very sturdy sandwich. So I'll go ahead and save this for later, and in its place, I'm going to give this banana swirl bread a try. Now, I've never seen this before, but basically it's similar to cinnamon raisin bread. Now, on one of the slices, you're supposed to add smooth peanut butter, and then to the other slice, you're supposed to add jam. Now back to the peanut butter slice. This one's supposed to get slices of banana, and then to the jam slice, you're supposed to add some of these freeze-dried strawberries. You guys, this sandwich is super unique. It's gonna be sweet and a little bit crunchy. I can't wait to give it a try. For Macy's fruit, she requested raspberries and blueberries, and I just added them to some skewers. And to go along with those, she requested tomatoes, which I also added to skewers. For a crunchy snack, I'm adding in some of this Boom Chicka Pop. This is in the kettle corn flavor, which is my kid's favorite. And then you guys, for her sweet treat, Macy requested some 4th of July Muddy Buddy snack mix. To make this, I started by putting together a small batch of Muddy Buddies. This is just a 1/4 cup of chocolate chips mixed with a 1/4 cup of creamy peanut butter. You just melt this together in the microwave. It takes about a minute or so. And once you have that mixed all together, you can go ahead and add in about 3 cups of Rice Chex cereal. Then I just dumped the coated cereal into a Ziploc bag with about 1 cup of powdered sugar. And then you guys, you just have to shake it, shake it, shake it to coat all of the pieces. Now I like to spread this onto a cookie sheet, that way it can harden up. And then to complete this mix, I'm also going to add some of these 4th of July M&Ms and about a handful of these red, white, and blue covered pretzels. And check it out, you guys, this would be perfect to bring to a party. It makes quite a lot to share. And then last but not least, for Macy's drink, she requested some blue Gatorade. As always, I hope you enjoyed these fun lunch ideas. And don't forget to vote down below on which one you think was the winner.